Hey, school is starting, football's back, and your fall calendar probably sucks.
You don't know what you're preaching next month, so you for sure don't know what you're doing for Christmas.
Your congregation is fact-checking you in the sermon with ChatGPT.
Are you just hanging on till Christmas, or do you actually have a plan?
On top of that, Tim is ready to tell us just how many macros are in a pumpkin spice latte.
Come on, 14 grams of protein.
That's
You know that.
sad that you know that.
This is Practically Pastoring. We're back, baby.
Preach on, brother.
So welcome back to the Practically Pastoring podcast. This podcast is for pastors who love the local church but are tired of feeling like they're doing it alone. My name is Frank, and I'm here with Andrew, Tim, Jeff, and Delmar, and we are ready to help you tackle your fall programming. So Jim, who's Jim? Jeff and Tim, could you do me a favor?
Is that our
and
couple name?
It's our celeb name.
Jeff and Tim, can you help us figure out why is it this fall season is practically really important for all of us?
Well, it's kind of a natural reset. Like around here, people are very, very into football season. So that's kind of a like natural rhythm in the year. It kind of resets. And then, of course, school starts. Not as early as you guys in the South because y'all are crazy, but school starts end of August. And so it's just kind of a natural time when people are finishing, like right now in the middle of August and into the third week of August. Everybody here is making a trip to Ocean City to go to the beach and, you know, maybe spend a week there or spend a few nights there. Or they might be going to like Hershey Park for a couple days. It's their kind of last hurrah of the summer in the second, third week of August. And then by the time we get back, school starts here August 25th. And so that really kicks off the fall for everything. So you've got school starting back up. People are back from vacation. So it's a great time to create like on-ramps for things for fall.
Yeah, we've kind of watched this over the last few years, this trend at Lakeview, and we've noticed two big kicks. It's right at the beginning of the school year in the fall, and then the other one's right after the new year in January. So we just try to capitalize on that. We know attendance is going to be bouncing back up. We saw it, again, like Jeff said, we're a little crazy on here. So school actually started, early
Today.
to mid-August today for us. So yesterday, our fall attendance, Frank, you probably felt it too. Our fall attendance was not only back, it was way back. We were inching toward highest Sunday attendance numbers outside of Easter.
Yeah. Also, Delmar, didn't you sell us in the group chat that like school started July 31st or something? Did you say that?
31st is wild. Yeah, we're actually so Tim, to your point, we are in a hybrid mode right now where half the schools have started back, half of them haven't. So like the energy is in this weird kind of back, but not all the way back yet. I don't know if there's other pastors dealing with that, but we're having to manage almost two planes at the same time.
Yeah, especially if you have multiple school districts represented in your congregation. Not every school district goes back at the same time. So that's kind of an odd trend as well.
And then public-private could be different too. So Frank, yesterday with the high attendance, were you going around handing out cards for the church plant during service? I mean,
No,
I would,
but
you know.
I did.
Hey, here's a card with a QR code. Go ahead and scan that. We'll see you next year.
That was 2 weeks ago, I think. What I did actually was we're doing this new thing. Instead of a bumper video, we're gonna read the text that is gonna be preached on.
That's an
but
old thing.
Before, I know it's an old thing.
Yeah,
It's a new old thing.
It's
we
new
do
for our
that
church.
every week.
But we're tying it to a vision piece, and so what we did is we actually prayed. And so, like, I did this. I prayed for all the teachers, faculty, parents, and the students that are going back to school. And so it was a cool.
What's
piece.
next? Communion every week? This is gonna be crazy.
What?
That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
Prayer,
Yeah,
Bible reading, communion every week.
We've had a noticeable bump the past 2 weeks. Like once we hit August, it was okay, summer's done, because come middle of May, we might as well have not been in a series. We could have just been 10 or 12 weeks of standalone messages in a row, because it was rare to have the same people, to have the same congregation 2 Sundays in a row. But once we hit 1st of August, it was, and we're back. Okay, that's exciting.
Well, Andrew, because of this like tension of being back, why is this moment? And Del, I want you to chime in on this. Why is this moment so important to plan well in the fall?
Because it's a built-in high point for your year. Everybody expects the church to be excellent when it comes to Christmas and when it comes to Easter. But I think there's, 5 or 6 other kind of more subtle, sneaky times of the year when you're going to get visitors, when you're going to get people that are maybe, they're making that plan. Hey, we're going to be more involved this year. This is one of those times where when the church steps its game up, the repercussions can be seen for months. So it's one of those seasons that we need to be thinking about way before we get there.
Yeah, and I would say as you enter that season, like your teams that have been serving, they've been on standby, and this is kind of a natural flow for them to get re-engaged. So I would encourage you right now. This is when you're re-engaging your teams. That one person who took the long trip during vacation, just give them a call. Hey, we're kind of working back. One thing I do and I would suggest is to have like a team launch meeting and provide food, like a team launch for every little team. It'll eat some of your margins now, but it's going to buy you a lot of margin later. I would meet with the team and then have your check in with your leaders later. And simultaneously to that, I'd be running some kind of clear on ramp onto those teams. So, hey, when you're talking, yeah, go ahead.
Doug, this is great. You're actually, I want to talk about this right now. And like, I want everyone here to give me like ideas, just like shoot at me different ideas for like different things that you guys may be doing or ideas that you've seen done in the fall. Like Tim, start us off right now. What are some like big fall kickoff events? Maybe for some people, by the time they're hearing this, they're a little bit behind the 8 ball to do this, but maybe just some manageable things. What are some things that you could do to kick off the fall?
We've attempted a few different things in the past. We've probably settled on more of one of a thing than we have. We've done a few things. One is a big one. We used to go big every year in sort of the fall harvest season. My favorite, which required a lot of work, and maybe you have the volunteers to pull this off. We did a big fall festival, and I would say what we were able to do is we mobilized all of the home group leaders, and we asked them all to own a different section of the fall festival, and it ended up being probably our most successful community-driven event that we've ever done. We had 1,000+ people on campus. It was a ton of fun. Was it worth the effort? I don't know. Like, was it fun? Sure. Was it really exhausting? Yes. We've also done kind of the smaller church things that are just like, hey, potlucks on the ground, food after church. Andrew, you do this every single week. We've attempted to do a few of these in years past. We've even we still do this one every year. We have a big flag football game. This one's a little bit later. It's typically closer to Thanksgiving, but it's a very well attended. It's an event. It's a ton of fun. But right now for this season, we're really honing in on kind of what Jeff and Del were hitting on up there, was this idea of on ramps in this season. We got a lot of families, people looking to get connected and plugged in. So we're trying to open up as many home groups as we can. We've got a sign up Sunday coming up. And for me, I've been trying to open up my calendar personally. Del, you nailed it. Like, how many people can you connect with right now, knowing that, hey, they're getting back in action? Is there a touch point there? So I've had basically every breakfast and lunch booked for the last 2 weeks and for the next 2 weeks with a different church member, just sitting down, seeing how I can be praying for them and what we can be doing for them as a church right now.
We've got a water park rented out next Sunday.
That's sweet.
So for our big back to school event, we waited until school was back for a week, because that way we don't have anyone, you've got that last minute, you got to get the new shoes, you got to get the haircut. So our back to school event is after everyone has been back in school, but we have kind of this water park thing. And part of it is because we didn't do a VBS this summer. We can't do it anymore with our facility because we have a preschool that meets here. And so that limits what we can do during the week. And so we moved a lot of the resources to have a big kind of, it's funny we say fall, but technically speaking, we have a month of summer still left, but this big back to school season. And so with that, we have the push in all of our small groups where we took a pause on youth group over the summer. And so that's ramping back up. So really it's kind of, we have all of these different ministries that are kind of in a new momentum season where it's a push to get back to the regularly scheduled program, but with a little bit more excellence. And we have this big crescendo event that will have our entire congregation plus about 20% more numbers wise at next Sunday at this community water park that we have booked out, which is surprisingly affordable.
That's awesome. Jeff,
do you want to come, Frank? There's a big water slide.
Okay.
Okay.
I need a big one. Jeff, can you tell us about like how are you helping people either take next steps in their discipleship or ministry or anything? Like what's going on at your church and how you're doing it this?
Yeah, so on the 20th of August, we have a leadership team meeting. So it's kind of like everybody that has any stake in leading a ministry, which is not a big, group of people for us, but there'll be like myself, my wife runs children's ministry. The people from youth are actually going to Ocean City that week, so hopefully I'm going to just connect with them before that and kind of know what they're going to think or know what they want to say. And then we've got like my board, and then one or two other people who are kind of strategically part of leading things, like communications person, which is a new volunteer role for us. And so we're just going to kind of meet, and really my idea with it was just to like have a blackboard there and just throw ideas on the blackboard and create a space where I am trying to actively bring more people into the creative idea space that like pretty much only I have occupied in the last 8 years here. Like, what should we do? What kind of events should we run? And I hope it hasn't come from a place of control with me, but it's just been more like I'm the only one that seems to be interested in having those kind of conversations. But we have a different congregation now than we did 8 years ago, so I want to have more of a collective kind of brain behind like what are we doing and why are we doing it. So we're having that, and it'll be a dinner and kind of a 2-hour prayer time, and then just ideas and thinking through our mission and vision documents, and like what are one or two things we can do this fall and winter that really can help people kind of connect with the church. And one of those that we are already going to do is we have a lady in our church who has really kind of built out, I wouldn't say a curriculum, but a pathway using Practicing the Way from John Mark Comer. So this fall, she is launching in September. She's launching the community practice, and so that's on Thursday nights. And so one thing we did a couple years ago, we started taking August off of anything except Sunday mornings. Other than prayer on Wednesday mornings, we still do that, but we don't do any youth group, any small groups, nothing on a weeknight. There's no like events happening. August is it's just like take a break, go on vacation. And then it gives us a kind of a built-in on-ramp for September to kind of like, hey, we're doing this. So we're about to start a new sermon series. We're going to start the Practicing the Way practice on Thursday nights. We have that meeting coming up, and then there's a few things that are in the works for hopefully fall winter events. August 31st for us happened to work out great this year because we do a potluck every 5th week, and August has a 5th week. So it's kind of perfect. That Sunday, coming out of that meeting on the 20th, I'm going to present like, here are some ways you can get involved. And, there's 5 areas you can serve in. You can come on Thursday nights. Here's 2 or 3 service opportunities happening in the fall and winter in partnership with the high school. Because of I just got an email from the high school about some service opportunities. So we're going to connect with that. And then probably we're going to do the Blue Christmas thing again, which has become kind of an outreach for us, and some kind of Thanksgiving meals. So that's kind of like we're going to present that to the congregation at the potluck on the 31st as kind of like, here's where we're going between now and basically the new year. And then in December sometime we'll do that again. And so my thought is to kind of do that once a quarter for the next year. Kind of like hey, this quarter, here's what we're doing. Here's how you can get involved, and just kind of reset every 3 or 4 months like that.
That's kind of clutch to like in your regular rhythm every 5th Sunday have that like potluck. Then
yeah,
like,
and we've actually talked about making that the time when we do that reset kind of thing.
That's actually really cool.
Because it's not all it's roughly there's roughly 4 or 5 of them a year.
Yeah,
but it's kind of built in. Our church knows every time there's a 5th week, we have a meal. And so we could just piggyback off that and go every time we have a 5th week, there's a meal, and then we know what's going to happen till the next 5th week.
That's great. I mean, like if you're like, I think about like Lakeview can't do a meal every fifth week, but
right.
Like Lakeview could do like you can strategically plan like that 5th Sunday. There's something that's going to happen that's abnormal to like kind of disrupt the rhythm, and then you could tie that to a vision piece. That's actually a really cool idea. One thing about the fall that like I think it's true all year round, but like you can strategically think about this in the fall because fall is always about like, okay, kids are going to start school, even like people's workplaces kind of like change and shift after the summer. And so I love like thinking about like community outreaches and things like that. So here's 3 just like real simple community outreaches that you could like start like after you listen to this podcast, connect with like your other leaders and plan one. One is a teacher appreciation drops. What we did is I would find like a local school and talk and like try to call the principal and say, hey, how many teachers and faculty members are in your school? How many how many people are like employed by the school, right? And then once you get that number, whether it's 40 or 60 or whatever, find like a dozen people in your church to have good handwriting. And then like ChatGPT a little script
So
and be
probably not any of the pastors.
probably not any of the pastors or doctors, right? And like just like say like, hey, you're gonna buy for them a bunch of like stationery. Maybe it could be church stationery or it could just be a generic like thank you card, and just write like something that's just like, hey, we're praying for you. We're rooting for you. We hope you finish well. We hope you go through this season, whatever. And like, just write an encouraging card. And then somewhere in your community, whether that's Chick-fil-A, whether that's like a taco place, whether that's Starbucks, try to see if you can get as many up to the number of people in that school gift cards donated. Now, if you can budget for it, just budget for it and be like, okay, what's $5 times 60 people? Then budget that. But like I have found, like if I call Chick-fil-A and say, hey, I'm doing like a teacher appreciation thing, I need this many entree cards. They'll oftentimes either give it to you for free, or you could say, hey, I'll give you $250. Can you give me however many entree cards? And they'll work out with you. And now you're giving them a thank you card with a little gift card in it. And those teachers will love you and appreciate that. Second thing we do, that you could do, is a like first responders breakfast. Now, don't overthink this. This is very simple. Find like an EMT place, a firefighter, a police station.
Oh,
whatever
what?
you
Bring
can think of.
donuts to cops?
Wow.
Real cool, dude.
Hey, I've talked to many cops.
They don't
like
hate it.
donuts. They don't hate it. They don't mind the
Do you know
stereotype.
who else doesn't hate donuts? Me.
Andrew, yeah. But if you don't want to be the stereotype of getting donuts, you can also just get bagels. Like go to Panera or like a bagel place, and just like ask whoever you can, commander or some admins, like, hey, we're this church. We want to drop this off just to appreciate you guys. Put a little letter saying you appreciate them, and what's going to happen is those people are going to appreciate this church because you've cared for them. Like at Lakeview, almost every week that like there's no one on property, there was like police officers just parked in the parking lot, just as a way of like, that's where they're going to park as they're waiting for their next assignment or whatever they're going to do next. And having a police officer sit in your church's parking lot is free security, but it's like a good thing. It's just, this is a win-win, and it helps your community. And you may very well have some first responders in your church, so track them down and find out where they serve. And then
Here's the thing about hitting a fire station. We've got a fire station a block and a half from here. On every fire shift, it is usually a rookie's job to make the meal for the 24-hour shift. And so when you are delivering a meal to the fire station, it's not, I mean, they're all going to eat anyway. That's part of what they do at the fire station. But what you're doing is you're going to the lowest man on the totem pole and saying, I got you.
Yeah.
Like it's a blessing to whoever is on shift during that 24-hour period, but it is a specific blessing to the rookie who kind of gets dumped on all shift anyway until the next guy gets hired, which might be years depending on the fire station. So it is a huge blessing to that person that is trying to work their way up, who's probably taking on the extra overtime, who's not getting paid as much as everybody else is on the shift. You are making their 24-hour period significantly easier.
Yeah. One last idea. We used to do this in Milwaukee. The city that we were in had this like citywide cleanup day. We would find out what day that was and then have a bunch of volunteers sign up and just go be a part of it. If your neighborhood or city doesn't have that, this isn't hard. Just pick a day in the fall that you think the weather will be nice. Buy a bunch of like industrial sized trash bags, and if you can afford it, those like picker upper things, and like send your people out and say, hey, for the next hour and a half, you're just gonna roam these parts of the map, and maybe you map it out and say this group is gonna go east, this group's gonna go north, whatever, and like just clean up trash, and then you bring them back to the church. If you are a church that has like nice big dumpsters, just dump them in there. Or what you could do is find someone with a pickup truck, put all the bags in the back of the pickup truck, and tell them to take it over to the city dump. This is an easy win, and then you can end that whole project with like a meal or something afterwards. This is like a super easy service project that if you get everyone wearing, the church t-shirts, it will win you goodwill with your community, because what community doesn't want to be beautified, right? Like people like there's everyone knows that like one part of your town where like there's a piece of trash beside the road that's been there for like 3 months and no one's picked it up. Like
That person put the couch out and no one picked it up.
Yeah,
and it rained. Then there were 3 hurricanes and the couch is somehow still there.
Yeah.
Tim's roof got blown off, but that old couch didn't move.
Ouch.
Yeah, as you're walking down as people are walking down in people's communities and you're picking up trash, the community is going to notice, and they might even say, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, we're from this church. We're picking it up." Del, did you have an idea you want to share?
Yeah, I think we have lots of parents going back to school, and as you know, money's tight right now. So one of the things we're doing is a community-wide hand-me-down event at our church. So we set up tables
is
everywhere by
smart.
sizes, and then every family, you bring a bag of clothes, you leave with a bag of clothes, and that way it keeps you out of goodwill. And then it's a 2-day. First day is bring and take. The second day is like literally come in community, just wipe us out. So it's a way for us to get rid of all the clothes in our house, but at the same time, save some families maybe hundreds of dollars. And an added bonus, they know where your church is now, and you've been able to like
That
really
is
love
such a
on
good
them.
idea.
It's really hard to get people to want to come to your church, So if you can do like, this is purely a give event, I think that's going to be a really big win for us.
That's a killer idea. Like,
Yeah.
because it's like I know what you're saying, like to keep people out of goodwill, but the point of that is, even how great goodwill is, people still have to pay money for that.
Right.
So like if the family who's truly like needs help and they're able to like get that backpack, get those new school pants that is too small for someone else,
Or get that pair of shoes that a kid grew out of in 6 weeks.
yeah.
I mean,
That's a great
seriously, because we're doing it in our homes anyways. And what I found out is that unofficially that it happens in a lot of our churches anyways, doesn't it? Don't
Yeah.
your wives give other wives clothes? So we're just going to capitalize
Yeah,
on
it
what's
happens in
already
the
happening.
nursery. People bring toys they don't want and just leave them in the
All
nursery.
the time.
Please stop doing that.
From the 80s.
Hey, this has lead paint.
Power
Let's put it in
Ranger
the church
toys.
nursery.
Stop it.
Well, Del, that was a great idea. And also, if you want more great ideas, if you don't know, we have a Facebook group with over 1,000 pastors. We would love for you to plug in there. You can share ideas and also get more ideas from other people. This same question about what ideas you're using this fall, we're going to put in the Facebook group so you can get some more ideas. Hey, one big aspect of leaving summer and going to the fall is the treacherous budget season. Either your financial department has been like kind of on your shoulders about it, your elders may be demanding something, but even if you have nobody asking questions, it is very wise of you to get ahead of next year's budget before you get to next year. So Andrew, can you give us some wisdom that only a doctor could give us about budget season?
Listen, we just came out of July. I don't know that every church is like this, but every church I've ever been at is like this, where July is the lowest attendance month. Therefore, July is the lowest giving month of the year. And so as we were kind of ramping back up, it takes some vision casting to be like, hey, here's where we've been, here's where we're going. And the way that this happens is by you partnering with us. I don't think standing up in front of the church 3 or 4 times a year and like, hey, here's where we're short or here's where we're doing great, but rather saying, hey, this is what your gifts are doing. This is what your generosity is allowing us to accomplish for the kingdom of God, and kind of celebrating some of those wins. If you had kids that went to camp, if you had kids that made decisions for Christ this summer as a part of your church, put that on the screen, not as a way to get more offering, but boy, if you put that up in front of your church, hey, this is where your gifts are going to, this is what you're funding, that's going to compel people to give. I know that different churches kind of create budgets and budget season in different ways, but in a lot of churches, especially if your budget is done by pledge, once you get to October, November, those pledges start to come in for the next calendar year, and a lot of pieces start to fall into place. And so what you need to be doing is if you are the person helping to put the budget together, you need to get with your ministry leaders, especially with kids and students. Hey, summer's gone now. The most expensive time of the year when money is the tightest is past. So now we're going into the fall. What do we need for next year to make that better? What do we need to take 5 more kids to camp? What do we need to take to add 1 more program? Hey, what do we need to cut back on? What's the fat that can be trimmed just a little bit while it is still fresh in the rearview mirror? And while you still have a few months where it's not just the pressure of, hey, the budget's due next week, let me just copy and paste last year's budget. When you have some time to actually think about what worked and what didn't work, that's the time to sit down with the people that are going to be asking for funds and saying, what can we ask for? What should we ask for? And what vision can we cast when we're asking for it? Because sticking your hand out and saying, hey, I need $15,000 more is one thing. But by saying, hey, with an influx of giving, we can go on this trip, we can see this life change, we can impact our community in this way. That's the kind of vision casting that I think really is going to get church members, especially people that don't have kids in those life stages anymore, or people that don't have the freedom to go on those trips. When you cast vision in advance, that's what you get people thinking about, oh, maybe I could help out in that way. I can't take off the 2 weeks to go, but I could make it possible for somebody else to go. So I think this time of year, it might not be the time to stand in front. Maybe it is. Maybe you have the kind of church that if you're doing the quarterly update, you go at the end of the summer, the beginning of the school year, and you say, hey, here's where we've been over the summer. We really need to ramp up to finish strong for the rest of the calendar year. But maybe what you do is you say, here is where God has been at work in our church through this summer season. And I know that you've been traveling, and I know that you haven't seen everything that's been going on, but here's where God's been at work, and that's only possible because of your generosity. And if that generosity increases or continues, here's where we expect God to be at work in our church in the next season going forward.
Andrew, I do want to jump in because this is something we have been very strategic about at Lakeview. Every July, typically last Sunday of July, we call it Vision Sunday, and it's hey, here's what God's been doing at Lakeview over the last 6 months. Here's where we think we see God taking us, not only over the next 6 months, but the next 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And we show projections and we have goals. And thanks to Frank and some of the other things that our leadership have done, it's been a really sweet time of celebrating and building some excitement right before the big push of the fall season. And we can literally say, here's where we're at, and if this continues, this is where we think God's going to take us. And then we build a really cool time of prayer into that and saying, look, these are our plans. We are praying that they are also God's plans, but ultimately we want it to be God's vision for where he's taking us. So I think everything you're saying, yes, and it can be done. And I don't know that the size of the church matters. I think any and all size churches can do this. We've seen great success with it at Lakeview, but I think it's possible.
One thing we were talking about at Lakeview is, and I think with the rise of ChatGPT, you could probably make this a lot easier, is having some sort of vision booklet, where if they don't make it to that Sunday, they can just kind of make it have a magazine where they kind of look through and figure out, oh, this is where we are with our budget, this is where we are with our planning, all that kind of stuff. Hey, Jeff, can you talk about Christmas, because this is a big part of what you start thinking about halfway through the year?
Yep.
In terms of what we do for Christmas?
Yeah, or why, how do you start planning? What's the mechanics of planning for Christmas, in the fall?
In terms of sermon series, Sunday morning stuff, I mean, it's pretty simple for us because we just follow pretty closely to Advent. So our sermon series is not really very different. I'm not going to say it's the same sermons every year, but it's the same themes every year. And typically I try to move between New Testament and Old Testament and kind of alternate. But also the reality is, I think pastors, you need to be free. You don't have to come up with something innovative and brand new every year. It's Christmas. People are nostalgic. It's okay for you to...
People watch the same movies every year.
You can touch up sermons from 2 years ago. First of all, no one's going to remember. Second of all, there's nothing wrong with it. You're not doing some kind of moral trickery to preach a sermon you preached 2 years ago. I don't know why we have the expectation that everything we say has to be absolutely brand new, fresh every week. It's not true. We're preaching a multiple 1,000-year-old text. So of course we're going to say the same thing we said before. So we do that, Advent, and we try to be fairly liturgical with it. We ramp up the Christmas songs. We don't just start Christmas songs in the end of November. We might do one Christmas carol and then 2 the next week and then 3, and we kind of lead up to it depending on the year. And then we have a Christmas Eve service, which again is pretty stock. It's not brand new. And then the thing that we do that I know that not every church does. Is we call it Blue Christmas. Some churches call it Longest Night. I think this year we're going to make more of a push to actually make it a service of remembrance for people that have been killed in the last year. So I know some churches actually do like the murders that have happened in their town. So we may do something more like that, where we actually give the community a place to grieve. So unfortunately, we do live in a place here in Baltimore where that happens. Not in my neighborhood as much, but close enough that people are affected by it. So it's actually one of the topics for the meeting I talked about earlier in August, that we're going to talk about, like, how do we want to do this year? Do we want to continue to make it a smaller thing that's really about, people dealing with kind of those holiday blues, or do we want to make it more of a community outreach night where we go, hey, we're giving the community space to kind of grieve some of the losses that have happened in the last year, maybe even get the numbers from our county, or maybe work with our police department in our area, because we have like a precinct that we are part of, and maybe ask them for some of the numbers, and maybe do something with candles for each one of the the murders that have happened in our precinct, or something like that, to give people a place to grieve even in the Christmas holiday. That typically happens like a week before Christmas Eve is typically when that happens for us. So that'll happen, and then we'll have Christmas Eve. And then I don't even know what day of the week Christmas Day is on this year, but depending on that, it will, it will change what we do. I don't think it's a Sunday this year. So, but yeah, that's kind of the plan for Christmas for us.
I mean, I don't know if this is doing too much, but when you were talking about that, the Blue Christmas, one thing I was thinking of is, man, it'd be really cool if there was a way. I mean, this could be even the way you market it to the community, is you will have maybe some professional counselors, like grief counselors, on site, that, like, after that service, if you need to talk to someone, like, either the church has already paid for it, or the grief counselors are volunteering their time. Kind of like how, when there's like a tragedy at a school, they provide counsel. I think that would be actually
that's a great idea.
It's cool.
I'll write it down right now.
Hey, Del, you were getting into this. I just wanted you to hold the brakes a little bit to get to this moment. Tell us about fall, after summer, after having maybe some light weeks in the summer. We're getting the fall. How do we deal, and how should we think about volunteers, especially as we're getting close to Christmas, where you're going to have a couple special services where you're going to need volunteers that are not usually scheduled. What's your thought process when it comes to volunteers in the fall?
Yeah, sure. I would say that the biggest gift you can give for your volunteers is a good framework for leader care. Because if we're not having a good system in place now, we're not going to make it to Christmas with leaders. We're going to have burnout people. We're going to have upset people. So this is what I kind of lock into my head: celebrate, recognize, rest. Like those three things: celebrate, recognize, rest. If I can just center around those things, you're going to give your leaders what they need. And what I mean is, I would honestly celebrate generosity. And the way you do that is like what you guys just said: budget for things. Like, actually, whether it's a dinner, whether it's, I know in my budget, I have a allotment for a $25 whatever I want on 1 liter a month card. So if it's a smaller team, they get $25. Whatever. If I had a teacher just started back, I gave her an Amazon card so she can buy stuff for her classroom. I have a friend who's a hunter. I give him a box of ammo, whatever. But it's $25 that I'm able to do that. Handwritten notes go a long way. I will tell you this, and I think one of you guys was alluding to it earlier. If you are a smaller team, capitalize on the smaller team environment. You can almost help gel some of your smaller teams into community groups where they meet once a month, have fellowship, because sometimes these serving teams, they are their own community. You guys know that. And one of the things I'm doing this year to kind of help with that process is I'm creating, I don't have a fancy name, so if you're listening and you have one, it's an exhortation team. So this is a ministry team whose job is to make sure all the ministry teams are loved on, to come up with the gifts and the things. Like, this is their role. And then my job is
I don't think you should call them the love on team. I think exhortation team works way better than the love on team.
Yeah, I think that exhortation. So yeah, I do that. Celebrate, and then when it comes to recognizing them publicly, it's just what it says. Highlight a leader on Sunday morning. If a team builds something for your church, pastor, get up there and thank the whole team. Even use their names if it's not too big of a team. What you're doing there is, number one, they're feeling recognized. Plus, it's reinforcing the value of service in your church as a whole, which is going to maybe bring some more people on that team. Because what's that thing? You celebrate what you want to have repeated. Well, we're going to celebrate that because we want that to be repeated. And the last thing is rest. Give them rest. If your worship team right now is 5 people who string it together every week, your goal is get it to 10 people where you can give them off a Sunday every month. We need to plan and rest, and not just during the holidays, but give them rest throughout the season as well. So that's my framework that I try to put everything into, and it flows out of when it comes to my leadership care.
Just one thought with that idea of giving your teams rest. Not everybody has an extra team of musicians in the church or whatever it may be, but some churches do. So Labor Day weekend, which is coming up for us at the end of the month because Labor Day is the 1st, we've got a guy who was at Lakeview for years and years and years, who is now leading worship at one of our sister churches here in the area. He's coming in just to give our worship leaders a respite on Labor Day weekend. And sometimes if it's a special weekend, depending on who the person is, you can say, hey, one person is going to come in and kind of lead as just one person with a solo, with an acoustic guitar. Sometimes they can bring someone in with them, but just kind of that change of pace, kind of like if you've had the fastball throwing right-hander in, you bring in the crafty lefty from the bullpen, and it's, oh, that was neat. And maybe that's not what you want every week, but by having that one person come in and just, it gives your praise team a week off. And there's ways to do that in other ministries as well, whether that's the fantastic video in the children's ministry or whatever it is. This time of year, especially because we know that it's a sprint to Christmas. So finding ways that you can give your people a little bit of extra rest, that you can just kind of steal a week of, hey, this isn't going to impact the momentum, but it is going to impact the longevity that my volunteers can have. Finding ways to do that in this season is huge.
Yeah, this is good. Hey, we've shared a lot of ideas. It can be overwhelming, but I want us to kind of reduce what we've been talking about into 4 steps so that we can crush fall. Tim, start us off. What's one way we can crush fall?
Yeah, I'd say you start off with ruthless prioritization. A lot of things are happening. A lot of things can happen, but that doesn't mean a lot of things should happen. So get that list down of, hey, here's what we absolutely need to accomplish. Here's what's going to get our best energy from our team. One thing we do, very practically speaking, every week at staff meeting is we calendar out, hey, what's coming up next week? What's coming up this month? What's coming up in 3 months? And then we prioritize the steps to make sure those things actually happen. We also have kind of a top 3 wins rule where we identify the 3 most important outcomes for the fall. Again, this can be done with your team. If you don't have a large team, that's okay. You can still do this, right? If your win is more volunteers in kids ministry, okay, then one thing that needs to happen is probably going to need to be a volunteer push Sunday or a ministry fair Sunday or something like that. We have a volunteer push Sunday coming up in just a couple of weeks. If your big need right now or one of the big wins is, hey, we need to get back into black. It's been a slow season of giving this summer. What are some things we can do to encourage giving in our congregation? Great. If that's one of your wins, awesome. Frank's been great at this one. We've been able to say no more often at Lakeview, which has been super helpful because a lot of great ideas, but it doesn't mean everything needs to happen. If it doesn't move the mission forward, it's probably not a priority. And we need not only vision casters, but vision drippers who are going to spread that out to the rest of the congregation that, hey, this is something, it's a term we've been using at Lakeview.
Can you
We've
get
got to
people
have a
t-shirts that
shirt
say
and a team.
Vision dripper?
Well, it's something we've got a guy who's been
Do you have a lead dripper?
I am technically the vision caster.
Deacon of dripping?
Then we have deacons. Then we have deacons of dripping.
I'm pretty sure I saw a commercial for something for men in case they're dripping too much.
Okay.
It just insert
that. See, this is why we have the music.
Wow.
How are
Just
you the
saying,
one
I
with the
saw a commercial.
doctorate? I just
because I'm the one that paid the tuition.
Thanks, Tim. Hey, Delmar, what's another point that they can take home with?
Yeah, the triple D's. Ready? Delegate, delegate, delegate. Seriously, what? Where are you guys? Y'all are over here dripping.
I have missed you guys so much this
Y'all
summer.
are over here dripping. But you got to have the delegation times 3, okay? All right, but seriously, on a real, here's the hard part. The hardest part with 3D, we'll change it to that, okay, is you got to give away your ownership, not just the tasks. it is so easy to be like, go set up the chairs. It is a lot harder to say, hey, how do you think the chairs should be set up? And as pastors, we like to have, hey, this is how the chair should set up, so they could. It's hard to just give away actual authority as well. Let people run the projects. That may be the biggest learning curve there. Maybe you, it may be me, but it's really important. Second thing is you have to kind of subsequent to that. You got to trust people to do it differently. The win is that it gets done, not that it gets done my way. I know a lot of times I feel like my way is better, just like you guys think your way is better. But if someone can get us 80% there, but now they have ownership, I promise you over time, they're going to get beyond where your 100% would be. If that's their one thing that they do and they're getting their 80%, empower them. They're going to probably take it further than where your 100% could be with your 5% of time that you can put toward it. So I think that trusting people to do them different isn't big. That also means we do coach them, that we don't just let them go, but like trust them. And the last thing is we need to empower your lead teams. So what that means is when you sit in a meeting, you don't have to answer every question. Matter of fact, when you step into a meeting, if you're the one answering every question, that will be a good way of knowing whether you're doing 3D leadership or not. If you're the person who has to step into and answer every question in the meeting, chances are you're not delegating. There should be meetings that you show up into where you don't have a clue what's going on. And that's the kind of trust that sets up. When I say don't have a clue, like, the chairs are getting set up, but you don't know what time they show up to church to do it. You don't necessarily know all the details, but you're giving away authority. I think that's going to empower them. It's going to prevent your back end from burnout. Well, that sounded weird out of context, but you know what I mean. It's going to retain your leaders all the way around.
I was just waiting for you to say you're going to roll out on Triple D. Diners, Drive-Ins. Guy Fieri over here.
Hey, go for it, Jeff.
Well, I was just going to kind of jump off of that and talk about, like, for me, a big struggle is kind of keeping myself organized, and a big part of that is my calendar. So a practice I've been doing lately, and part of it for me is I've learned to give myself the grace to try different productivity methods, because I can kind of get caught up in like, ooh, I got to buy the notebook and I got to get the right pen and I got to, and I get all caught up in like the tools themselves, and I don't actually make myself more productive. So I've given myself the grace to kind of jump from tool to tool every couple months when I lose interest in it. But one thing I've been doing lately is just like a brain dump at the beginning of the week. So I just get a sheet of paper, and there are PDFs you can find with like categories, but just get a sheet of paper and just like dump everything that's in your brain. I got to do these tasks. I got to connect with this person. I got to answer these emails. I got to, start on the budget, like whatever those things are, and just dump it all out. So you're not holding it in your brain and feeling overwhelmed. Like I could feel scatterbrained, and even my home responsibilities go on there too. I got to take care of this thing in the backyard for the kids, and I got to, clean the kitchen. And I just like try to dump all that stuff out on a piece of paper at the beginning of the week. And then at the end of the week, by the end of the week, hopefully I have at least crossed out the things that are priorities. And so part of that is just keeping my calendar tight and blocking days out for certain things. Now, I don't have a lot of meetings, but if you have meetings, maybe blocking them all on the same day or the same morning. And then just like office time is something I try to protect as much as I can. Summertime is hard because the kids are home, and like right now I got one of them texting me that she needs to go to the doctor because she may have jammed a finger, and so like stuff like that's going to happen. But as we get into the fall and school, it's a little bit easier to go. Tuesday morning and Thursday morning from this time to this time are study times. I don't do anything but that, and I kind of protect that. And then for me, just like making sure that I am not filling up my quote unquote rest time with what I like to call like small projects. Like, well, I could just take care of this real quick. And before you know it, you're not taking any time to actually rest, which actually in the long term makes you less productive, and your calendar is full, but you're getting less done. So those are some things that I try to look out for in the fall.
That's great. So we have ruthless prioritization. We have 3D from Delmar. We got a conversation about calendar blocking. Andrew, take us home. What's the last thing that we can walk away with?
I think during this season, as we are ramping up, we need to be thinking about how we're communicating. We sometimes fall into the trap of, hey, I said it in announcements, so everybody should know what's going on. But people don't necessarily pay attention to what you're saying in the church announcements. And yesterday, as I was thinking about this very idea, I finished making announcements. I went to the back of our worship center as our worship team was leading the congregation, and I saw 3 families that are like key families involved in everything that we do coming into the service after the announcements were made. So you need to over communicate if you're going to hit all your people. So maybe that is getting your email from a monthly to a weekly email. Maybe that is getting a 300-word email down to a 100-word email where it just hits the points exactly what you want people to know. Maybe it is making sure that all of your small group leaders are on board so that they can kind of, borrow Tim's language, drip the vision to everybody else.
Thanks.
But whatever it is, you got to find a way to communicate and oversaturate your church with what you're trying to get out. So you got to let everybody know what it is that you need them to know, and you need to realize that the same communication technique that works for the 86-year-old widow is not going to be the same technique that's going to work for the family with 3 young kids that are showing up 5 minutes late. So communicate, and then celebrate the wins when you communicate. Kind of what Del was saying. I think what he was trying to get to the rhyme was what gets celebrated gets duplicated. And that's what you want to do when you are communicating. Hey, here's what we're doing, and this is why it matters. We did this last year, and here's a life that was changed because of it. Hey, this is the impact that we're trying to make, and we think that if we get this right, here's what's going to happen. So celebrate in advance of some things. We're so thankful for what God is going to be doing in our church over the next few weeks, because here is what we expect to happen. So celebrate as you communicate instead of just trying to get information out. When you present it like a pep rally instead of an information meeting, people will be more excited about what it is that you're trying to get out to them.
That's good.
Andrew, I have a question.
Everyone,
you talked about like communication methods. When you have something really important to announce, do you stand up and announce it?
I stand up for the announcements. So each
and sit
every
for
week-
God's
Jesus
word?
would never.
Interesting.
No, I
Priorities.
stand up for announcements and call to worship. So there's, that 3 or 4 minutes with me standing in front of the congregation
3 to 4.
with the Bible open, and then I sit down to preach.
Smart.
But my Bible's also there as well.
What if you had a really important announcement? Would you sit down just for them to be like, oh,
just so
this
that
is
they
important?
know that it's time to take it seriously?
Yeah.
Probably. And if it was like a really important announcement, I probably wouldn't have the 10-year-old girl that comes and helps me make announcements each and every week. I probably wouldn't have her on stage for that
Nice.
announcement too, just because she comes and brings like the visitor mug and like the little prayer cards that we have.
Can you imagine? It's just like Andrew gets on stage all like on a normal Sunday, sits down and be like, Shirley is retiring. It's like really, really heavy statement. It's just like, we all love her. She's retiring. So like,
Oh,
that'd
my
be a really
goodness.
funny.
He puts the
funny
wire
transition.
behind him that Sunday.
Yeah, it's like, wow, Andrew something important must be happening.
I'm gonna put this in Opus clip and it's gonna go viral because I'm being serious here. Thanks for listening. Please do all the things. If you haven't subscribed. If you haven't liked, please follow us. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and if you're watching this, we're on YouTube. Listen, we want to encourage you. You're not in this alone. Celebrate the small wins. Watch your life and doctrine, and love your people well. This is Practically Pastor, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Peace.